All right, so this is my finally photo booth setup. I'm doing a sort of a test run now. I hadn't had time with all the work and all that's been involved with the whole filming and dealing with the temple, and then also dealing with the communication with the gods. Yesterday was a different type of day for me. What ended up happening is that I went in to talk with the gods about the concept of releasing Scholar and Apollo. Then there's reasons for this, why I wanted to release, but let me give you a kind of an update of why they were locked away, first off. And it's only been for about a couple months. So in the scenario here, what happened was Apollo came and actually took over my body, which is like, okay, great, fine, whatever, but he did it without permission. Now, I've had it happen before, where my body was controlled, and it's usually only allowed to be done by the Father God. I guess there are circumstances where it's possible in other scenarios, but in the majority of cases, the rule is only the Father God is supposed to be able to take over his incarnation at times. And usually not for extended periods of time. That kind of messes things up. And which did happen over the summer. He was stuck in me over the summer. Which was, different for me, because then I was stuck in heaven. And I don't have a lot of memories from then, but they do come back periodically. Anyways, we'll talk about that another day. The thing is here is that Apollo did it, and that's a no-no. And the reason is because if Apollo can do it, or a godhead could do it, like let's say Scholar did it, or anyone did it, it implies that the forecaster can also do it. And in this scenario, if we had a bad scenario, like let's say Loki decided to take over my body, although he's already on Earth right now, but let's imagine he wasn't. And let's say he took over my body, came back to Earth, and decided to do the bidding of his godhead. And that would be bad for Earth in the sense that the godhead, for the forecasting godhead, just basically doesn't want humans to be involved with gods. Okay, it's pretty simple. He doesn't care how he gets that done. He doesn't want the gods involved with human life because his view, and it's an understandable view to a degree, it's his forecasting was that humans, despite how the fallen world would become, and the world would become a disaster, and things would be destroyed, despite that, he'd rather humans go at it with their own by their own steam. And I understand that. I mean, we all have this tendency, I think, to want to be able to be independent and do our own thing, especially once we hit teen years. He tends to have an ideology like that. However, his ideology is just separate yourself from the gods, even at the consequence of dire poverty and destruction, and it would rather you starve to death than associate with the gods. That's his view. Even himself, he doesn't like people connecting to him as a god. He doesn't desire worship. It's not what he actually wants. What he wants is people to get away from that and be self-reliant and completely on their own. So, if his incarnation were to come to Earth, that incarnation would have the ability to further that agenda. And it's not an agenda I agree with. I understand it, but I don't agree with it. My agenda is to allow humans free choice to choose whether they want the gods or not. Ideally, I would prefer that people went towards the gods and, were worshiping one of the gods. I don't care. It doesn't have to be all of them, but, the Father God, Mother Goddess, Beauty, War, whatever god you want to be involved with, that's fine. However, in this scenario, we don't want it to be encouraged, or the gods didn't want it to be encouraged, that the forecaster could start sending back his incarnations. So originally the design was that the incarnation was going to, once being sent back to Earth to take over my body, let's say, was going to be able to, basically, he was going to be locked away for that indiscretion. That's what they kind of came up with at first. Over time and discussion and deliberation and thinking about this, they realized that what would stop the forecaster god from just sending his incarnations So periodically, and not worrying if they get locked away because he really didn't care, as long as they got some of the plan done, they're locked away for 2 months. What's the big deal? So then the inevitable decision was made that the Godheads are locked away for the indiscretion of their incarnations, which is a big no-no for the Godhead. I mean, you don't want his powers to be limited in the world. Well, in our scenario, Scholar was now locked away. The God of knowledge was locked away himself, the Godhead, because of the choices of his incarnation, Apollo. This just basically meant that knowledge-based powers are not flowing through the world like they used to for the last 2 months. So if you've had trouble learning, like I have, you can thank Apollo for this. No, don't say it that way. That's not. Apollo had good reasons. Now his reasons were that, from what I understand, were that the humans on Earth, us in particular, my group, needed to control the hidden temple. Now he's a part of the hidden temple, and the hidden temple is not seen by the eyes of the gods. This is key to understand. The hidden temple was designed as a way to cheat or skirt the rules a bit, so that we have the ability to kind of, as long as we don't get caught. Now if we get caught using the hidden temple, it's a really big no-no. I mean, I'm stripped of all my powers, I am stripped of all my connection to the gods, and nobody gets connecting to the gods within my generation. Not a good idea. So I have to be very careful about it. However, as of recently, things have changed a little bit. And that's why I'm able to talk on the camera, which we'll explain this. Now, before it was like a hidden society thing, and this is where all those ideas of the Masons having this hidden control comes from, and the Illuminati. It really is, they take credit for things we've done in this hidden temple. So, I mean, we're not dumb enough to get caught. If we had, we would be really screwed. We let them take the fall, and it says, let them claim that they did it. That's a good cover for us, for what we do. Okay, now I know this is getting off topic. I want to get back to Apollo. The reason he's now gone is because he came to Earth, took over my body, and got himself caught so that he could limit Tutana, who is the actual head of the creator of the hidden temple. He wanted to actually limit Tutana and force Tutana to turn over control to us, giving Tutana no other option. And apparently this was the way he could do it. So he got himself locked away, got his Godhead locked away, forced control to fall on us. So now, my situation is, now that we are in control, we are having to, delegate, redefine ourselves. My wife is now the leader of the temple. I'm sort of the camera guy, the go-between between the gods and the incarnations, and letting all of you see what's going on. I know you haven't really seen a whole lot. You really haven't engaged a whole lot yet, but this is the start of it. Well, so I went in to find out what Apollo's full plan was, whether he could help us with this, or explain to us how things are going in this scenario. So that's the essence of what I was doing yesterday. And we were successful in releasing Apollo. I had to work with the Father God to make concessions, because Apollo was about a week and a half out before being released, something like that, and because he had already been locked away for almost 2 months. I want to know what his plans were and everything like that. So I'm going to make this a 2-part video series. I'm trying to keep my videos under 10 minutes. I know that I don't necessarily have to. YouTube allows me to go longer, but I want to keep it shorter because it's just redundant after a while. So I'll come back in the next video and I'll give you guys an update of what happened in regards to how the situation turned out. The goal is to go in, talk with the Father, and get clarification about this situation from Apollo, if I can get him unlocked early. So I'll discuss that with you all in a few minutes.